The Bear Maiden. The concept of a Bear Maiden might seem like a fantasy to some. However, the author of this story, despite being a fan of the mystical, never believed in werewolves due to his profession, a square figure. The chief editor appeared at the editorial office entrance. "Oh, Orlov, come in." I caught the alarmed looks from my colleagues. Everyone knew that when the boss addressed you by your last name and used the formal you, trouble was imminent. But I couldn't care less. Everything was indifferent to me now. "Sit down," Yuri Yefimovich gestured to the chair opposite his imposing desk. The chief editor disdainfully pushed towards me. Sheets of paper fastened with a staple. "What is this?" I looked at the title. An article. Mine. Yeah. This is rubbish. Not an article. Orlov, murky pedantry and endless dullness. Plus, half of it is ripped off from the internet. Publishing this would only destroy the magazine completely. And tomorrow's issue is going to press. And it will have 4 empty pages instead of your, pardon my language, article. Yura paused. He drank tea from a large cup on the table, slurping loudly. "You should cut down on tea with 6 spoonfuls of sugar." I wanted to tell my former comrade, now the boss, and hit the gym to shed those extra pounds. But I remained silent. Yura Yefimovich was right. My article was plagiarized from the internet, and in essence, utter nonsense. But I was no longer capable of anything else. Quit, or let Stokeman fire me. I'll give the boss sadistic pleasure. "Are you drinking?" Yura asked quietly. No, I honestly lied. He was unaware that I started having a drink at lunch, and by evening, I could hardly find my way to the trolley bus. With 3 transfers, I crawled across the entire city back home. I can't drive anymore, and the metro won't allow me. But in my current state, I won't survive another night. In the night awaits a wet highway, the speeding lights of a truck, screeching brakes, the ringing cry of pain. What does it matter that I'm not at fault? That the truck driver, who fell asleep at the wheel, is to blame for everything? He, too, will listen for the rest of his days to the screeching and the cry of the woman who his truck smeared on the road, the cry of my Lenochka. And yet, I could have refused to go out that night, but my beloved wanted so much to watch the sunrise over the sea. "Nikita, you can't go on like this. Almost a year has passed, and you still can't pull yourself together." My boss and friend spoke quietly. "You can't bring Lena back, but you need to live. I know you visit the cemetery every other day." "Why? Why? What? Why? Why? Why do I need to live?" Yura sighed loudly. "It's up to God to decide how much time each person has. Since you survived, there must be something left for you to do on this earth. You know what? Go on a trip. I've already been on vacation. Twice, in case you're not aware." "I'm aware. Go on a business trip. We need something mystical, mysterious for the October issue. Portals, time travel, wizards, but it has to be all real. Understand? Not fantasies from the internet. Given your inclination toward the afterlife, it's a task for you. And where do I find a time portal?" "On the Moscow, St. Petersburg highway. I'll stop to have a drink 3 minutes before Lenochka's death, and the truck will pass by." The boss slammed his hand on the table. "No. I received a letter from my aunt in Upper Lesia. It's a village in the Carpathian Mountains of Ukraine. She's asking for help needs assistance with her household. And what's that got to do with me? This pointless conversation, from my point of view, was starting to wear me out. I wanted to look into the bottom drawer of the desk where a bottle of brandy awaited. I'm asking you as a friend to go to her. I can't do it right now, and you can take a break at the same time. Well, if it helps me take a break. Understand, her husband died a couple of years ago. The kids have scattered. They do send her money regularly, but they don't rush to delight the old mother with their presence. Aunt Gala clearly needs help, and she's lonely there. I would gladly go with Natasha, but my princess only acknowledges foreign lands. Fine, I'll go. My Lenochka won't object from the other side. The chief editor snorted. He finished his cold tea. I stood up, took a step towards the door. They have a belief there, Yura's voice reached me, that a tribe of werewolves, lives in the forest. It's like brown bears have been mating with humans since ancient times, giving birth to children. That's how human werewolves came into existence. They are allotted an equal share of life in the form of a beast, and the form of a beast in a human. What do you think of the legend? I don't know why these words of the boss pierced through the veil of my despair. They reached my brain, to that part of it that once generated ideas and wrote captivating stories. According to everyone who read them, I returned to the table. Investigate. Sniff around. Yura continued. Look for these Ukrainian origin werewolves. Well, if you don't want to, I'll send Kostya Petrov. He can't write at all, mind you, but his uncle is one of the shareholders of our publishing house. Damn him. A publishing house. I even managed a hint of irony. Incredible. Uncle Petrov and his nephew together. Kostya has long been eager to get the first 4 pages. I'm still resisting, but the arguments are running out. Yura vividly ran his plump hand over his own throat. Yes, Kostya was quite the werewolf. I'll go. I'll do everything. Well done, Orlov. I didn't make a mistake in you, Yuri Yefimovich. Beamed. And, try not to drink, at least while you're living with Aunt Gala. My uncle succumbed to cheap moonshine. He was a real man, but not a fool. Got hooked on the cheap stuff. I didn't respond to that. Why make promises that are bound to be unfulfilled? Despite being a fan of all things mystical, I approached the editorial task with great irony and skepticism. Werewolves in the 21st century. In Central Europe. It's laughable, but Yura will get his werewolf stories. My imagination is as wild as Prosper Mérimée, who described these. It took me 3 days to reach my destination. Just a little more, to walk to the village where Aunt Galina lived. I stood in the square, surrounded by quite old buildings, either former shops or workshops, scratching my head. When next? Yura assured me he had arranged everything. In this village, where no transportation goes to Verkholesia anymore, someone would meet me. Unfortunately, the square was deserted, resembling a lunar landscape. A cold wind rustled fallen maple leaves across it, and fuzzy cloud patches drifted across the low sky. I pulled out my mobile, contemplating whether to curse Yura for his arrangements or attempt to call Aunt Galina with the stupid question, "Auntie, where are you?" Yura had provided me with his number, cautioning about the unstable signal in these parts. There was no signal at all. The mobile displayed a crossed-out eye, indicating no connection. Muttering some curses under my breath, I pulled out a map from my backpack. Smart, not to rely on those Google navigators, and a small bottle. After 3 sips, the world seemed less hostile. The map assured me that Verkholhesha was practically within arm's reach on a decent road. Well then, a couple more sips, and off I go. The dirt road slowly ascended. I walked for a long time, occasionally illuminating the map with my mobile. Then, my mobile got offended and refused to turn on. Night surrounded me, somewhere above. Fir trees danced in a circle of prickly stars. It became cold. I increasingly leaned on the cherished bottle, but the intoxication was overpowered by the cold, dispelling the pleasure like an exorcist banishing a demon from me. Suddenly, the road, which, according to the map, should lead to the village, ended. Trees and underbrush stood in a wall in front of me. What the hell? A narrow path plunged into a bowl. I pondered for not too long, about 3 seconds, and dived after it. Behind the bushes, a clearing opened up, and on it stood a wooden house. Light shone through the windows, and smoke curled above the chimney. Right now, Baba Yaga would probably fly out of the stove. However, instead of an old woman with a broom in the doorway, which swung wide open as if on cue, appeared a tall, unmistakably female silhouette. Hostess. Let me stay for the night, I said plaintively. I got lost on the road. I'm not dangerous, a journalist by profession. I couldn't see her face against the light, but I noticed that the hostess was a huge, young brown bear. My legs immediately turned into jelly. Run. She'll catch up. Fight. A swipe of her clawed paw would finish me off, and no one will ever know, an unpleasant voice echoed in my head. Why are you standing there? Come in. You'll cool down the house. The she-bear growled, disappearing into the depths of the dwelling. Limping, I followed. So, this is a shapeshifter. In the 21st century, we live only once. In the large, bright room, I glanced at the hostess and couldn't help but exclaim, "What the hell is this?" It turned out the she-bear was a girl, dressed in a long fur-lined vest. On her head, a fashionable hat with ears, which the beauty promptly removed. Beautiful chestnut hair cascaded down her shoulders. Why are you swearing? The hostess grumbled. Drunk or something. And what a smell from you. No, I did have a drink. But the cognac is high. Quality. It's cold, after all. Just 2 sips. Want some? I don't drink. There's a basin and a jug. Wash up. We'll have dinner. I looked at the table. Dumplings. Probably with berries. Honey, bread, and sour cream in a bowl. My stomach rumbled. I hurried to wash up. The girl took off her fur coat, revealing an amazing figure. Slim. A full chest and a slender waist. Long arms with large but graceful palms. I felt that my body responded to this beauty as it hadn't in many months since the accident. Apparently, the girl understood this as she smirked. Eat. It'll cool down. What's your name? Nikita. Married? Married. My wife died in an accident. I uttered these words for the first time. Surprisingly, I felt relief. My condolences. May she rest in peace. You're not to blame. I still blame myself. Blamed. Ursula. Not a common name. Where's it from? She didn't answer. Got up from the table, took me by the hand and led me to a wide couch by the stove. I didn't resist. It was a crazy night. Not just because, for the first time since my wife's death, I was with a woman. Ursula herself was something out of a fairy tale. I had never experienced such sensations, and I probably never would. Finally, tired, I fell asleep. I was awakened by voices. I cautiously peered out from behind the stove and was astonished. The hostess was sitting at the table completely naked, and across from her, 2 bears were devouring dumplings. "What do we do with him now?" asked one. His speech was quite clear, according to our laws. Let him go in the morning. He's a city dweller. He'll think he imagined it. Such things are unbelievable. And what will he tell? That he was sheltered for the night by a she, Bear, and it's time for me to give birth. The womb is ready. He has plenty of seed. Go, brothers. I feel everything will be fine. Ursula got up, stretched, caressed her belly, and chuckled. Ah, my friend, such a sweet one. Foresaw him for me. The larger bear grumbled. Oh, your friend. You shouldn't associate with humans. Terrified, I dove under the blanket. I woke up when the sun was high. The house was empty. On the table were a jug of milk, a pot of honey and bread, and a note. Go left on the path. You'll reach the road. Thank you, Nikita. Be happy. A local guy gave me a ride to Aunt Galina's. She lamented. Why didn't I wait for Grandpa Spiridon, who went after me? But she didn't look me in the eyes while saying it. And you are the friend of my unexpected lover. The she, Bear girl. I understood.